girl, I was 21 once. I'm not there anymore. It's fine. So this is gonna be like late night jazz. Okay. Legit, like this is what's gonna be. It's just like a mess. So when I was like 17, it wasn't like I was easy, but like if you told me Quentin Tarantino was your favorite director, I would be like, take me now. And like my favorite one was called Death Proof, which is part of this like, what is it called? Grindhouse. Yes, Queen. And I just remember at the end, like these girls get chased by this bad guy, just like beat him up in a circle, like kick them in the face. And I was like, bitch, this is my jam. And in it, and I'm thinking about doing this for Halloween, a Quentin Tarantino homage, where Butterfly gives, what's his face? Someone knows what his name is, right? What? Yeah, but what's the actor's name? Kurt Russell. He gives him the lap dance of his life, and it's to down in Mexico. So I thought I would do that as an homage for Halloween. So if you don't do for Halloween, you can get a lap dance. But before the lap dance is a poem that Jungle Julia, the DJ, says on the radio. If you want to lay my friend Butterfly, you gotta recite this poem and buy her a drink because you gotta have the monies to be my boy. And it would be called Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping there to watch his woods fill up with snare. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake, to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and dappled flake. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep. And miles to go before I sleep. Have anyone watched that movie? Am I the only one? No. It's so good. It's so good. Like, take me now. It's so good. Okay. And then just to encourage whimsy within reading, I thought I'd share with you part of my childhood. You know, Doctor, I read this when I was a kid. It was really good. It touched me and saved my life. It's called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Chapter 1, Here Comes Charlie. I can't see it. The two very old people are the father and mother of Mr. Bucket. Their names are Grandpa Joe and Grandma Josephine. What did you say? Did someone say something? If you're going to interrupt someone, you got to be like, you know, come in. What? No? Okay. And these two very old people are the father and mother of Mrs. Bucket. Their names are Grandpa George and Grandma Georgina. This is Mr. Bucket. This is Mrs. Bucket. I don't have pictures here, but they're by Quentin Blake and they're great. Mr. and Mrs. Bucket have a small boy whose name is Charlie. This is Charlie. How do you do? And how do you do? And how do you do again? He's pleased to meet you. The whole of this family, the 6 grown-ups, count them, and little Charlie Bucket lived together in a small wooden house on the edge of a great town. The house was nearly large enough for so many people, and life was extremely comfortable for all of them. There were only 2 rooms in the place altogether, and there was only 1 bed. The bed was given to the 4 old grandparents because they were so old and so tired. Like, you know, they were so tired, they never got out of it. Grandpa Joe and Grandma Josephine on this side, Grandpa George and Grandma Georgina on this side, Mr. and Mrs. Bucket and little Charlie Bucket slept in the other room upon mattresses on the floor. In the summertime, this wasn't too bad. And in the winter, freezing cold drops blew across the floor all night long, and it was awful. There wasn't any question of them being able to buy a better house, or even one more bed to sleep in. They were far too poor for that. Mr. Bucket was the only person in the family with a job. He worked in a toothpaste factory, where he sat all day long on the benches with little caps on the tops of tubes of toothpaste after the tubes had been filled and the tubes had been capped. But a toothpaste cap screwer is never paid very much money. And poor Mr. Bucket, however hard he worked and however fast he screwed on the caps, was never able to make enough to buy half of the things that such a large family needed. There wasn't even enough money to buy proper food for all of them. The only meals they could afford were bread and margarine for breakfast, boiled potatoes and cabbage for lunch, the cabbage soup for supper. Sundays were a bit better. They all looked forward to Sundays because then, although they had exactly the same, everyone was allowed a second helping. The Buckets, of course, didn't starve, but every one of them, the two old grandfathers, the two old grandmothers, Charlie's father, Charlie's mother, and especially little Charlie himself, were about in the morning till night with a horrible, empty feeling in their tummies. Charlie felt it worst of all, and although his father and mother often went without their own share of lunch or supper so that they could give it to him, it still wasn't nearly enough for a growing boy. He desperately wanted something more filling and satisfying than cabbage, or cabbage soup. The one thing he longed for more than anything else was chocolate. Oh, girl! Yes! Walking to the school in the mornings, Charlie could see great slabs of chocolate piled up behind the shop windows, and he would stop and stare and press his nose against the glass, his mouth watering like mad. Many times a day, he would see other children taking bars of cream chocolate out of their pockets and munching greedily, and that, of course, was pure torture. Once a year, on his birthday, did Charlie Bucket ever get a taste of a bit of chocolate? And also, like, back when I was, like, a kid, this also, like, reminded me that, like, if you think you pop, bitch, motherfucker, there's somebody in New York who was, like, working 4 jobs, feeding 2 dogs, you know, they pop. Not that I'm talking about myself, you know. Once a year on his birthday, did Charlie Bucket ever get to taste a bit of chocolate? The whole family saved up their money for the special occasions, and when the great day arrived, Charlie was always presented with one small chocolate bar to eat all by himself. And each time he received it on his marvelous birthday mornings, he would place it in a carefully small wooden box that he owned and treasure it as though it were a bar of solid gold. And for the next few days, he would allow himself to only not just look at it, but never to touch it. Then at last he could stand it no longer. He would peel back a tiny bit of paper wrapping on just one little corner and nibble a tiny bit of chocolate, and then he would take the tiniest bite, just enough to allow the lovely sweet taste to spread out slowly on his tongue. The next day, I can't say that on the stage without like feeling strange. And I feel this is like a natural way of being for Tommy Horn. It takes a lot of bravery, so like, you know, Charlie would take his 6-penny bar of birthday chocolate he would make a 6-penny bar of birthday chocolate, girl, that's hard to say, last him for more than a month. But I haven't yet told you of the one awful thing that tortured little Charlie and his lover of chocolate more than anything else. This thing for him was far, far worse than some slabs of chocolate in the windows. In the town itself, actually within sight of the house in which Charlie lived, there was an enormous chocolate factory. Give it a little British feeling, factory. Twice a day, on his way to and from school, little Charlie Bucket had to walk past his great gates of the factory, and every time he went by, he would begin to walk very, very slowly, and he would hold his nose high in the air and take long, deep sniffs of the gorgeous chocolatey smell all around him. And how he loved that smell. And oh, how he wished he could go inside the factory and see what it was like. You gotta read the book now. Thank you so much. Give it up for Icos and Kenny Tanaka. Give it up for Laura! Jeez. Okay. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye.